Hello and welcome back, folks. Today we're going to go ahead and create our first animation in Adobe Animate, and we're going to do something that we're going to call moving dots or magic dots. So let's dive in and give this a whirl. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new canvas, and for this I'm going to choose a web, and I'm going to go with a web high size. Really, any of these are fine, but I'm going to go with web high, and I am going to change my frame rate down here to 12 frames per second. It probably doesn't matter too much, but since we're doing a simple animation, I think 12 per second is good. So for every 1 second, we're going to have 12 frames in there. So our goal is to do about 4 seconds worth of animation, and that is going to be about 48 frames down here. So looking at the interface, since this is our first time, we've got our toolbars over here, we've got our timeline down below, and then we've got our properties window over here on the right hand side. Now you can of course rearrange this however you want. I have my interface set to classic. I'm going to change it to basic. Not much is going to change here. This got a little bit bigger down below. You can set it up however you want, but we're going to take a look at our timeline quite a bit down here, and we're going to do some basic drawing on this. So I'm going to make my timeline a little bit bigger so that I can really see my frames here a little bit, all the way out to about 48, which is where I'm going to go here. So let's go ahead and get this going. I'm going to grab the brush. The fluid brush here gives you a couple more options and settings. You can really use this one if you want. I don't think it's going to matter too much for what we're doing here, but we're going to dive in and get this started. So fluid brush, I'm going to go ahead and choose a fill color. Doesn't really matter what you choose, and I'm going to use a purple color here. The size, we can adjust that. The stabilizer will be kind of like smoothing in Photoshop. So let's start making this happen. If I make a dot in the center of my canvas here, or my stage as they call it in Illustrator, I've got a dot right here, and then if I go in, I want to add, I only have 1 frame of animation, so I want to add my next frame in here. So how do I do that? This is my playhead, this blue guy right here, and I can't move it because there aren't any other frames. So if I go ahead and click on the next one here, and I want to move my dot, which is the goal, and I want to have it come up here somewhere, and I make my next one right here. The problem is that one is going to stay with me. So when I go to the next frame, and if I go to the next frame and I add another one in here, those previous dots are staying, and they're just growing, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to hit Control Z or Command Z a few times and go back a couple steps. So what I need to do is I need to add a blank keyframe. Since I'm doing frame by frame, I want to add a blank keyframe. So this is a new frame, but there's going to be nothing on it. My original dot is not going to come with it. Problem is, I can't see my previous dot, so I don't really know where I am here. But we're going to go ahead down here and turn on our onion skinning. So when we click on this, and then do selected range, I can now see my previous dot on here, so I can tell where it is. The transparency is down. If I move my playhead back, there it is. And it comes back. I'll zoom in here a little bit so that we can see this better. So I'm going to go over this next one, and if I want to have this dot move over here, I'm going to move up there. And then I'm going to add a new blank keyframe. Click, move my dot again, new blank keyframe, and the quick key on the keyboard is going to be the F7 key by default. So that's going to speed up the time. If I hit F7, I'm going to add a new one. And I can keep adding dots on here like this. And I can move them around in any way that I want. And if I want to go back and check my animation, I can very quickly take my playhead and go like that, and I can start to see how my dot is moving around. Now, if I want to make this dot move a little quicker, I'm going to increase the spacing. So right now, the spacing between my dots is relatively even. And if I start to space this out a little bit more, whoops, forgot to add a new blank keyframe, F7. Space this out a little bit more, F7, new keyframe here, F7. Zoom back out so that I can see where I'm going. I can really increase the spacing here, and this is going to very quickly speed up my dot. And if I want to slow it back down, I am going to decrease the space at where I put that dot. So let's check that out so far. I've got about 18 frames of animation. So my dot is going like this. It zips around real quick there. And you can either hit the play option right here, which will play it once for you. Or if you want to go up to the top and preview, it's going to load a new window for you and keep looping that animation through it, and you'll be able to see that. So you can see I'm starting to get that dot moving around here. You can add some other cool effects to it. We're not quite getting into squash and stretch yet, but let's say I want to speed that dot up again, and I want to kind of use like a motion blur. So I could kind of do maybe something like this, and that is going to really speed this up. And then I'm going to go over here and kind of slow this back down again. And I'm up to about half of my animation at this point for this first dot. And again, let's just double check that and see how that's looking so far. So there we go. That's kind of fun. So what I'm going to have you do is work your way through this, get about 48 frames, all the way out here. Once you're happy with that, I'm going to take my playhead back to the beginning. I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to do my second dot on this layer. So I pick a different color. This time, back to my brush, I'm going to select a color here. I guess I got to do it this way. So let's select like maybe a blue this time, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll start with my first dot. This one I'm going to start with this maybe up here. Maybe make this one a little bit larger. And you can use your bracket keys just like you can in Photoshop. New blank keyframe, F7 on the keyboard, and I'm going to have this one just kind of drop straight down, pick up speed as it goes, and there we go. And then I'm going to bounce it back up and, I don't know, do something else with it and move this one around here. So you're going to keep adding keyframes in like this, and then you're going to get multiple dots moving around. If you don't want to be distracted by the first one, you can always go down to the eyeball, click that. That one's going to disappear. You can also lock that so that you don't accidentally draw on the wrong layer at any point, and there you go. So have some fun, create 3 basic moving dots around on this, and then what we'll do is a final step here. It's kind of fun once you get your dots going. I'm going to hide this layer for a second. Once you get your dots going around doing different things, and I just changed the color of my stage back here to make it black, we added a fourth layer here, and I just basically went through each frame and connected those 3 dots together with a line, and it creates this really neat kind of abstract morphing animation, which is pretty fun. So when you are all finished up with that, we'll move on to the next step. It's as easy as exporting your animated GIF at the end. You just go up here, File, you export your animated GIF. It'll give you a little preview right here that you can watch, like that. And it's only showing one because I had the other layer hidden, I believe, right now. And hit save, and you'll have that GIF ready to go. So have some fun with your moving magic dots around the page. Get some different speeds going, try some different things, and see what you come up with. All right, good luck, folks.